You got a guy which you're comfortable with, whatever it is, and ask him to light a candle, one candle, only one candle. So even if, let's say, lighting 10 candles, yeah, but you can ask if it's after Shkia, it's after sunset, for some reason you didn't light, you can ask a guy to light one candle. That's it.
Why not you?
Generally, you're not going to ask a guy to do malacha for you. So it's an exception because for a mitzvah, so only what's absolutely necessary. One candle is the mitzvah. There's light. And then you say the bracha. He lights and you say the bracha. I can say bracha if he's doing the mitzvah, because we said the mitzvah is not really the lighting in itself. The mitzvah is the benefit that you're getting from the light. So being that you're getting the benefit from the light, so you could say the bracha. It's considered saying the bracha on the mitzvah. We're going to discuss the halachos of Kiddush now. Kiddush has to be the place where you eat. You can't hear or say Kiddush in one place and eat somewhere else. When we say eat, we don't mean the entire meal. We mean minimum a kazayis of cake, which is like 2/3 of an ounce of cake, or a cup of grape juice, cup of wine, 3 ounces of wine or grape juice. Some would say it's like 4.1 ounces of grape juice or wine. So even though the Suda of Shabbos is washing and having challah, but in terms of this halacha, that Kiddush has to be in the place of the meal. It doesn't mean mamish the meal, but if you have a cup of wine or a cup of grape juice or a piece of cake, a cookie, that's also good enough. You cannot whenever we say Kiddush, means say or hear, same thing, say or hear, because hearing is like saying. So whenever you do Kiddush in one place, you have to eat in that place. You cannot hear Kiddush in one place and then eat somewhere else. So you're saying Kiddush has to be the place you eat. Oh, you're hearing Kiddush, you're saying Kiddush, you have to eat a piece of cake there. You're in shul, you're hearing Kiddush, you have to eat something. Can't just say, oh, I heard Kiddush, but you didn't eat anything. Okay, I'll eat something. All right, I'm going upstairs. There's this cake over there. I'm gonna eat. I heard Kiddush here. I'm going over there to eat. You have to eat in the place you eat. Can't hear Kiddush here and eat somewhere else. What if that was your intention? Doesn't help intention. Intention doesn't help. It has to be in the same place where you heard Kiddush or where you said Kiddush. Now, that means also, this is very irrelevant to Sukkos. So it could happen sometimes that the women don't eat in the sukkah because there is no space for them, or for whatever other reason, it's too cold, it's raining, and they don't have to eat in the sukkah. They don't eat in the sukkah, whatever. They have to hear Kiddush. Kiddush is in the sukkah. Okay, go into the sukkah, hear Kiddush, and then go to the house and eat. Can't do that, right? Because you're hearing Kiddush over there and eating over there. Okay, so
Can you just eat like a piece? Like
let me just.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'll finish and then if there's any questions, yeah. So what could you do? Well, you already started saying you could eat something in the sukkah and then continue, fine. For sure. You can eat. But let's say you want to eat in the house. You don't eat in the sukkah. So what do? You hear Kiddush if the sukkah is close to the house. You could stand by the window and listen to Kiddush. Even though Kiddush is in the sukkah, Kiddush goes according to where you are. When you listen to Kiddush, you're out listening to Kiddush in the house, so Kiddush is in the house. And then you can eat in the house. If you specifically want to hear Kiddush in the sukkah, and you don't want to eat in the sukkah, so you eat something, eat a piece of cake, you sell a michya, then you continue in the house. Now, there is an opinion that says that you can say Kiddush in one room and then eat in a different room. it's not halacha, but there is such an opinion. But there's no opinion that says you can hear Kiddush over here and then eat in the building across the street or outside. Because there's such opinion that says that they could eat in one room and then, I'm sorry, you could hear Kiddush in one room and then eat in another room. In a time of necessity, it's called shas atchak. In a typical situation where you have people who are like, well, nothing you can do about it. People aren't going to, this is the only way it's going to work. Then one can be lenient and one can hear Kiddush in one room and eat somewhere else. An example for that is, so my father-in-law is a works in a show. He's a chazan in a show. Chazan Keder. There's other things also in the show, not just chazan Keder. He's involved with the, like every Lubavitcher, whether you have a job, you get involved in spreading Yiddishkeit and taking care of people. But he has issue in his show because what happens is, in a proper show, proper meaning, I don't mean proper spiritually, physically, as the shows were made, and all, now the shows like Crown Heights, there's no real proper show. When I say proper, I mean proper in the sense of like, oh, there's the show, and then there's the dining hall, and then there's this, and there's that. It's like one room, and everything is the Kiddush is in the show, and we don't have that facility. So I'm sure you have been in shows where there's nice big show, and you go downstairs after you eat, then you go another room, and there's this, and that. Okay, so they have the Kiddush, not in the show, in the dining hall. So all the food is prepared, everyone comes there, people finish that, they go straight to there. Food is food. Food is enticing, right? Good food. So it's a fun show, but people walk in there right after davening, and it's food, and they're going to say Kiddush, because it's going to be Kiddush. Father was the chazan, he's going to say Kiddush now. People come in, and whereas over here, where everyone knows, they're waiting for Kiddush, they come in, they see food, you eat the food. That's what you do when you see food. They're not waiting for Kiddush. So people were eating and not hearing Kiddush. So what he did was, because this opinion is an opinion, it's not the halacha, but it says that it could be used in time of difficulty. So that's what he does. Before everyone leaves the shore, prayers aren't over yet. Still, people don't leave until it's officially over. It's part of the davening. Before davening is over, he gets up, he says Kiddush and Shul, and then everyone goes downstairs and they eat. So this is b'diavad. It's not chatchila, but if the situation necessitates this, then you can't be lenient. When you hear Kiddush, you have to eat right away. You cannot hear Kiddush and say, what, I don't feel up to eating it. I'm still like, whatever, I need some time. I'm talking to someone. I'm going to eat. I'm going to eat in the place where I heard Kiddush. Sure, I heard Kiddush, I'm going to eat here. But I'm not ready to eat yet. Okay, if you're not ready to eat, why you want to say Kiddush? I'm not saying the rabbi is making Kiddush. I don't want to make Kiddush. I'll hear Kiddush. I heard Kiddush. In 15 minutes, I'm ready to eat. I'm going to eat. Can't do that. You can't plan that way. If it happens with Kiddush and you're going to eat right away because whatever, you're talking to someone a few minutes, it's fine. But you cannot plan this way to hear Kiddush and you're not ready to eat yet. I'll eat soon. You have to eat right away. If you heard Kiddush, then also, between Kiddush and eating, you cannot leave the place and come back. If you do leave and come back, it becomes questionable. If you left the place, plus you also planned when you heard Kiddush not to eat right away. So combination of two things. When you heard Kiddush, I'm not eating right away. And combination with that, you also left the room, came back, then you'll have to say or hear Kiddush again. So in other words, simple words, between Kiddush and eating, you're not supposed to leave the room. He was in the house, people say Kiddush, there's Kiddush, and then They have to go to a room to get something between Kiddush and the wash. Anyways, people are, some people around collecting washes. Then you go to, I'm just going to grab something. You're not supposed to leave the room. You're not supposed to. If you do, we're not going to obligate you to say Kiddush again. It could be questionable. But the you're not supposed to leave the room between Kiddush and eating. So even though it takes time and you're waiting there and there's interruption in time, you can't help it. You need to wash your hands. It's that's how it is. There isn't a sink for everyone to wash right away. Wait. But to leave to another room and come back, that's not common. Yeah.
What if there aren't any things in the same room that are Kiddush is made?
There is what?
What if there are no things in the room where Kiddush is made?
That's a different story. That's a different story. So you're leaving to another room for a purpose. But even that, there are people who will make sure to have sinks in the place where you eat. The proper thing is, that's also because of interruption between washing. There's a separate idea, nothing to do with Kiddush. That you are not supposed to interrupt between the washing and moitzing. You shouldn't be washing in one room and going to another room. That's what you have, that's what you have. Well, the proper thing is, if it could be avoided, not to wash in one room and even another room. That's why there's some people that they make sure to have a sink in the dining room. So let's say if they're anyways doing construction, and they redoing the dining room, so those who are thinking about this and they're conscious about the halacha, and anyways they're redoing the dining room and that they're already redoing it, they set up, there should be a sink in the dining room. You shouldn't have to leave it. Well, some houses, like in my house, it's all one thing. It's like one totally open to the sink. But it's because of the condominium. But in houses, many times it's a dining room. When you walk out of the dining room into the kitchen, it's like a separate room. So people who are anyways doing construction and they're thinking about this, they'll actually put a sink in the dining room. So they can wash right there. Again, if that's what it's not an issue. It's not if someone that's what they have. You have to walk into the room. It's kosher. It's not like questionable. It's okay. But saying better than that is that you shouldn't have to go from one room to another room. Okay. When you hear Kiddush, you obviously don't answer Baruch Hu Shemai. Whenever you're being yoitz with a bracha, you don't answer Baruch Hu Shemai. Across the board, Kiddush, Havdalah, you're listening to hearing the brachas, the Megillah, Rosh and Shrefa, you don't say Baruch Hu Shemai. When you drink the wine, should you say your own bracha agafen? You should. You're being yoitz. You should not. You're being yoitz with a agafen. You mean yaitz with Kiddush, yaitz with Agafen too, the bracha too. So, but don't speak between the Kiddush until you drink the wine. So you're being yaitz with Kiddush without drinking wine. Now, even then, you shouldn't, you don't drink until the person, you don't speak, you're yaitz with Kiddush until the one who's saying Kiddush drinks the majority of the cup. Luckily, now you could speak for your a Kiddush. But the custom is that we drink from the wine. And you don't have to say agafen because you yaitz with the one who's saying Kiddush. Yeah, but if you yaitz with his bracha, then you don't speak between the Kiddush and the drinking. Just like when you say a bracha, you don't speak between the bracha until you drink. So if you hear a Kiddush and you're going to drink from the wine, and you're going to be yaitz with his bracha, you also don't speak between the Kiddush until you drink. If you do speak, and you speak about something that's not relevant to the Kiddush, then you have to say your bracha. Not relevant, meaning that there's something nothing to do with the Kiddush. Say your bracha. What's relevant? Now, the definition of relevant to every person is different. It's relevant to the person what's called relevant. Yeah, but so that can get a little tricky. That if you give me examples, I can analyze it. But if it's usually what is relevant, what can be relevant after Kiddush was said already. So generally speaking, if you speak, you have to say the bracha. I have my kids all the time. Kiddush, the little ones, and they speak in between. So I used to in the beginning make them say if they spoke between the Kiddush and the other, okay, now say a bracha. Then my wife told me something, and I really she was right. They said, "So you want to get them to the habit of not interrupting and doing the proper thing and being gates with the bracha too." So you can tell them to say a bracha. Now they're like, even though they should say a bracha, but there's a point over there. You want them to get into the habit. Okay, no bracha. We don't speak, and that's it. Now they say, okay, so they'll talk. Oh, it's okay to talk. I'll talk and say a bracha. Even though halachically, really, it is once this kid drinks the wine, you could halachically talk. But the accepted custom is that's how it's done. Is that you yaitz with kiddush, you should be yaitz with a gofen too. Don't just say extra brachas for nothing. Should be yaitz with the bracha too. That's the proper way to do it. Hamaitzi is different. Hamaitzi, the Rebbe writes in a letter that the accepted practice is, and the Rebbe just says that that's just how it became. That people don't have proper kavanah with hamaitzi to be yaitz with the bracha. I'm referring to not the yaitz with the lechem mishnah. There are hamaitzi and yaitz lechem mishnah. It writes together and yaitz it. You get a piece from the chali. But in terms of saying your own bracha hamaitzi, the Rebbe says the meaning is that people say their own bracha hamaitzi. And the reason is because generally people don't have the proper kavanah, because it's they don't necessarily have kavanah to be yaitzi with hamaitzi, because usually there's a big pause between the hamaitzi till they get a piece of challah. Wine, drink, challah is like cutting. So they there's a bigger break. That's how the Rebbe explains it. The Rebbe says that's how it is. That generally people don't have the kavanah, and therefore people say their own hamaitzi. Logically, according to the letter of the law, if everyone would have kavanah about hamaitzi, I would be saying hamaitzi. About kavanah be hamaitzi everyone with hamaitzi too, and everyone would have kavanah to be yaitzi with the bracha hamaitzi too. They could be yaitzi, but the Rebbe says that's the meaning, and that's how it's done, and people say their own bracha hamaitzi. So the being yaitzi with lechem mishnah, because you're supposed to say hamaitzi on two whole breads. You hear hamaitzi and you be yaitzi with lechem mishnah. But in terms of when you're eating the challah, the meaning is you say your own bracha. Something very interesting regarding lechem mishnah, and that is that you could be yaitzi lechem mishnah even though you didn't wash it. You're standing in the kitchen, didn't wash it, and the one who's saying notice I didn't wash it, and it's nervous, and if you have to want it to be yaitzer. My little son, it doesn't work. Once it happened, I forgot. I didn't realize I didn't wash it. I didn't hit end of it. He went. He had to do hamaitzi again, and I figured out a way to do it without saying Hashem's name. But then he caught on to it. So next time it didn't work. He said, "No, you're gonna." I really let my lesson make sure if I say hamaitzi, he's there. Otherwise, it's gonna be. But according to Halacha, you could be yaitzer hamaitzi even though you didn't wash your hands. If you have kavanah to be yaitzer. The only thing is, my only thing, if the one who's saying hamaitzi does not know of this halacha, I'm just realizing now as I'm talking that it could be an issue, because if he doesn't know that he could be hamaitzi, he has to have kavanah. the rule is anything that you yaitz is to be the kavan of the person listening and the one who's saying the bracha. Like, for example, if you're listening to Megillah in someone's house and someone's reading the Megillah, right? So you sit on the table, you read the Megillah, and you are in a different room over there because you're not taking care of a toddler or a kid over there. And you're going to hear Megillah. You can hear very loud. It's loud. He's going to say loud. One saying the Megillah, let's say, doesn't know there's anyone in the other room. As far as he's concerned, he's bringing people here. Yeah, but you could hear also. He doesn't know you're there. You're not Yitzhak. Because just like you have to have kavanah, the one who's being late you has to have kavanah to be late you. Joint effort of it. It's one, yeah. We want to ask something.
If someone does not count even if someone's in the other room, if the person making someone seat knows that there are people still watching, but doesn't know who.
Yeah, right. He doesn't have to know who. General kavanah is good. He has a general kavanah. Whoever wants to be Yitzhak, I try as much as possible that remember when I'm saying kiddush or anything. Whoever wants to be Yitzhak. So if he has general kavanah, what I'm saying is if the person, everyone's familiar with this halacha. So usually someone's at a table saying I'm Yitzhak. He thinks if you're at the table, if you're not by the table, you have your mind. So yes, he could be Yitzhak you can be Yitzhak with him, but is he having you in mind? In other words, it works even though you didn't wash it. But like any other situation, there has to be kavanah. The one who's saying kiddush for saying a right to you, being Megillah for you, has to have your mind. If he thinks, if as far if he's in his mind, it can't be mitzvah because you didn't wash it, and the parties there's no way you'd be standing there. You just people around the table, so you're not having your mind. That's going to be a problem. But so that's why I'm saying practically, you don't want to rely on that in people's houses because you don't know the one who's saying a mitzvah what he knows if he has that. And if he knows the halacha, let's say, in essence, there's no awareness that you're there. He's around the table. He's saying, "Oh, people around the table." Yeah.
Does this apply to bringing Dylan and show?
No, because in shul it's chatchila that's it's already programmed automatically into the brain of the malkeda because of the nature of his job, which is being a malkeda in a shul, which means learning. So he has everyone in mind. What do you mean if there's someone?
Like,
what do you still mean? If someone is outside the shul, you mean?
yeah, like if someone like let's say they're outside, they hear Megillah.
Yeah, so this actually says clearly that in the shul, even outside, because he has kavanah, and the way it is, Abakir has a general kavanah. He understands that in the shul, people come in and he has a general kavanah for everything. So it's not an issue. But in a house, very important. You're doing sitting in a side room and listening to Megillah. I heard every single word, nothing. You have to make sure, that's why, whenever it's Kiddush, whatever, you have to always make sure that coming, want to say Kiddush, let's say someone's making Kiddush and you're running the last minute from the back and he doesn't, you should know that there are more people there that want to hear it, you just have them in mind. When bread is passed by a meitzim, it says they should not pass it into a person's hand. I'm always like in the house with the kids, always making sure they're aware of this because they're always very confusing. As much as I tell them, it's like God forbid by a mourner, if my son, there's some meaning over there when he puts food in his hand. So it says. I don't know the details, but something like the beginning, the first thing, something there about putting it into his hand. So it says by Lechem Mishnah, the same as could also be not Lechem Mishnah, but even during the week, there is a halacha that if you have a whole bread, you should make a bracha on a whole bread, the whole column. It's not an obligation. If you have, it's a good thing to do. And then you can invite some people and give them a piece. So it's the same idea. that it says they should, so, but practically it's talking about like Mishnah. When I slice challah and give it a challah, not just to put it in someone person's hand. You don't put it into their hands. Put it on the table and you take it. Okay, that's relevant to one who's giving out the challah. Let's say they don't know it, so if you don't make a whole show, but I'm saying if you could like orchestrate it in a way where this actually he'll just end up putting it down instead of taking it from his hand, it's done a little away, so we'll just put it down instead of grabbing it in his hand. You know, that's how you should do it. The obligation of eating challah on Shabbos, you have to eat at least the size of an egg, which comes out to about 1.5 ounces. It's not a large amount. Many times people have special diets and they can't have challah, too much challah. And sometimes they can't have at all, you know, whatever, allergic reactions, but many times it's just that they can't have too much. And a little they could have, and they're not aware of it, and they know they can't have any challah, and they're not doing the mitzvah. You have to be aware it's not such a large amount. You take a scale before Shabbos and you weigh it, you'll see it's not a large amount. Again, if you can't handle it, it's okay. So you can have sometimes other, there's without gluten, there's the sourdough bread, and there's different, you know. Now you have to eat a kazayis within a certain amount of time. So it's usually by default that it happens. I'm saying it's the size of an egg, which is the size of 2 olives. So let's say the size of olives are 3/4 of an ounce. So 3/4 of an ounce has to be eaten within, let's say, 4 minutes, some say 6 minutes. So you're just nibbling and it's totally stretched out over 20 minutes till you finish eating this. It's not only regarding the mitzvah of eating challah, but also regarding benching. To bench, you have to have a kazayis, 1 ounce of bread, and it has to be eaten within 4 minutes, 6 minutes. So 4 minutes is a stricter opinion we use sometimes with Pesach, 6 to 7 minutes. Usually, it's not a big deal to have it done within that amount of time, unless your mom is just nibbling and nibbling. Okay, so now we'll talk about any other questions. We'll talk about Abdullah. Abdullah is a machlokes if it's minatayda or if it's biblically required or rabbinically required. Kiddush is minatayda. Even though Kiddush on a cup of wine is rabbinic, but the concept of Kiddush, the mitzvah of Kiddush, is mandatory from the Torah. One can fulfill the mitzvah minat when they daven Friday night. The Amida, you're already doing Kiddush minat Torah. Well, if you did Kiddush in the davening, why do you do Kiddush again? The sages enacted that it should be done over a cup of wine. But the Kiddush minat Torah, you yates it with the davening. Very interesting halacha that a child that just became bar mitzvah, when they come bar mitzvah, they're still a child. And now, luckily, the bar mitzvah, but they're not much like that. Now, they just became bar mitzvah, big boy, now he's 13, bar mitzvah, right? But when it comes to Kiddush Friday night, they cannot make Kiddush for other people, especially for women that did not daven ma'adim. Because if let's say you don't daven ma'adim, come on, yeah, some women do, some don't. Okay, doesn't matter what you do. Let's say you don't. Okay, that means you didn't do Kiddush yet minat Torah. Now he's bar mitzvah. But just because he's bar mitzvah, that doesn't mean he's obligated minat Torah. Because the obligation for a boy minat Torah is when he reaches purity. Say for a girl also. If a girl, it's not relevant to discussion about being like other people. Just because he's 13, it doesn't mean minat Torah he's obligated to do mitzvahs. because not necessarily did he reach puberty yet. So it's rabbinic. Means his obligation is rabbinic. Your obligation to Kiddush is Torah. So you can't have a mitzvah, you just came a mitzvah, he's all excited about mitzvah, he's going to read the Torah, and now Friday night he's going to get up and he's going to make Kiddush for everyone, let's say, because whatever the case is, that the father wants him to make, whatever. And he's going to mitzvah all the women, because he's bar mitzvah, right? But assuming you did not do Kabbalah Shabbos, that means you haven't done yet your obligation of Kiddush Torah, and he just turned bar mitzvah. And chances are he did not reach puberty. He cannot be made. You see already his beard is growing in a little bit, so some hairs, then you know already he's fine. But just like that, he's just, there's no hairs, he just turned a mitzvah, his face is totally clean, there's no hair started to grow at all, then you know he has not reached puberty, and he cannot be mitzvah. If you did Kabbalah Shabbos, then he could. It could be those, some are still going to be strict about it, but then already, there's definitely opinions that will say it's okay because now your obligation is only rabbinic because you already said Kiddush and Davening. So his obligation is rabbinic, your obligation is rabbinic. Works out. The same would also be in regards to, interesting, coming out to Purim, Megillah, especially the Megillah of the day. The night is more lenient than the day. So the Megillah of the daytime, a boy that just became bar mitzvah, it's just bar mitzvah. He's bar mitzvah in the beginning of that, and he's all excited. He's going to be able to read the Megillah, practice the Megillah for a whole year, and then he's going to get up and read the Megillah. He should not be doing Megillah and show, being mitzvah women during the day. The night Megillah, there are opinions that could be lenient, because it's not in the same category. That the day of Megillah is more important, is in a higher level of obligation than the night. But the day Megillah, he should not be saying Megillah for a woman. Usually, it's not unusual, anyways. The question once came up: there was someone who his bar mitzvah was on Purim. So now a lot of bar mitzvahs like to read the bar mitzvah parsha. So his bar mitzvah parsha, so to say, not that it's necessarily encouraged in Chabad, but you can do it whatever. But now it's mitzvah parsha, so to say, not called a mitzvah parsha, just using the term. It's Megillah. Parsha wasn't want to read Megillah. He asked me the question. I said, you can read Megillah at night, not in the day. At night you could get away with it. It's really. Even the night, I think, I haven't looked into it this year. I'm talking from memory from other last years, but it could be even night. It's not perhaps the most ideal situation to have a bar mitzvah boy, just a mitzvah, reading Megillah for women. So let me just correct that. Let me just add, not correct, add on what I said. I said for women. For men also. Megillah is in men and women. Kiddush with men is not an issue because they already daven minor. With Megillah, the issue is not just for women, it's for men and women. What's the difference? Men and women have an obligation to hear Megillah. So this bar mitzvah boy should not be, who just became a mitzvah, should not be reading Megillah for anyone over bar and bas mitzvah. He could read for children under bar and bas mitzvah. That he could do, because for them it's rabbinic. But anyone over bar and bas mitzvah during the day, he should not be reading the Megillah. Questions? We started saying that Havdalah is a machlekes of min ha-Torah or midrabanan. Kiddush is min ha-Torah. At least on the case is midrabanan, but the requirement of Kiddush is in the Torah. And we said you can be Yaitse in the davening, just in the davening, when davening Adam Mida, Kabbalah Shabbos, you're ready Yaitse Kiddush Minatayra, but Chacham say you have to do it over a cup of wine. So to do a requirement properly, you have to Kiddush over a cup of wine. Havdalah, some say it's Minatayra, some say it's Midrabanan. And then there's another machlekes. Are women obligated to hear Havdalah or not? Well, you always hear Havdalah, yeah, because there's a machlekes. But there is a machlekes if women are obligated. The Allah is for sure they should. And Allah is that they are obligated. They should hear Havdalah. However, being that there's an opinion that says they are not obligated, so a man should not say Havdalah for a woman if the man already heard Havdalah. So a man should not be saying Havdalah just for a woman. A man who already heard, let's jump a moment for Kiddush now. Kiddush, a woman walks in the house, she didn't hear Kiddush. According to Halacha, the man can get up and make Kiddush for her. Halachically, it's okay. But Havdalah, no. The man already heard Havdalah. Comes from Shalom, there's a woman, his wife didn't have Havdalah. He heard Havdalah in Shalom. He's not supposed to make Havdalah for his wife. But what do you mean? Wife would say Havdalah. Well, make sure don't hear Havdalah in Shalom. You can have Havdalah in Shalom, then come home. You won't be able to make Havdalah for your wife. If it's only for your wife. You're doing it for the family, you have adults, you have boys over bar mitzvah, fine. But just for your wife, just for women, no, you cannot. Yeah. Yes.
If a man is present but doesn't have in mind to be, say, Havdalah, is that okay? Or if you're starting to do Havdalah, should you do? If you want to
It's a very good question. So actually, he's supposed to have explicit kavanah that he doesn't want to be Yitzhak. If he does not have explicit kavanah, it's questionable that he might be Yitzhak. But what do you mean explicit kavanah? If he plans to make Havdalah at home, that's also called explicit kavanah. It's by default, automatically that's clear kavanah because I'm planning to make it home. I'm not. This is the thing. I don't want to be Yitzhak. If he plans to make it home, automatically his kavanah is not to be Yitzhak. But if he doesn't, and he's, it could be an issue. But usually at that point, the person has already planned what he's planning or not. But for sure, it's clearly should have clear kavanah not to be Yitzhak, and it's nothing. Just because he hears it, he's not Yitzhak. Okay, stop here. Shabbos, everyone. It's chodesh. You get Yava if you didn't daven yet.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so sorry to stress you out last night.
Oh, I just feel bad.
Why?
I want you to well,
It's okay. I have to do rushing. I can have a nice chill meal with the Hara. I'm actually doing the Hara twice. I love that. I so much you don't the golfing party. So I'm like, just double the Hara. That's good. Yeah. I wish I was like, I'm gonna shower